You are listening to It Came From the Radio. You know this is Jay Feldy, aka Dr. Feldy, aka it doesn't really matter because right now we're with Jim Haggerty. He's a film producer, musician, creator of Yellow 8 Productions. He's been making movies with different clients, friends, and co-stars of mine for at least 16 years. I know because I went back at his YouTube and I saw things from 16 years ago. Dennis Newman, shout out. He's made films including Witchmaster General, movies for the Midnight Hour, Is This a Joke? Many, 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 many more. His latest film anthology, starring me on Natural Causes, is very, very cool. I'm a big fan. That comes out by, I think, the end of October, I believe. We'll ask Jim. He's right here with us. And he performs in his band, Drunken Frankenstein. Jim Haggerty, welcome to I Came From the Radio.
Hey, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So we'll get right into it. Now, Unnatural Causes is your newest creation that will be
Jim
released.
Haggerty's on Natural Causes.
Oh,
Not
excuse me.
not as an ego trip thing, just that
No,
I
no,
realized too late there were other movies called On Natural Causes. So just to set
that's
it up.
important. Gotcha. Jim Haggerty is Unnatural Causes, not Jay Feldy's Unnatural Causes, not Ann Coulter's Unnatural Causes. Gotcha. All right. So that's going to be out by October, right?
Yes, for Halloween it will be out
All right. So
on Blu-ray from
starting.
SRS.
All right. Simple then. So, what can viewers expect to see, and why did you make this one?
Well, it's been a while. It's been a while since I made a full-length feature and wanted to do that. And I think it's a lot of fun. It's very inspired by the old Tales of the Unexpected show, the Roald Dahl show from the 70s and 80s, because I was watching a bunch of those and I wanted to come up with something sort of like that. Like the vibe of it is that it's kind of quirky, there's a humor to it, and it's an anthology, but set to these are supposed to be television show episodes. So we kind of made a point to make them very, uniform. Whereas previous, I've done other anthologies before, When Death Calls, Grave Danger, and the segments all vary. They're different in tone. They're different. This was supposedly like, as they're supposed to be created for a television show. They were all like kind of
Mhm.
exactly around the 30-minute mark. And, and it's kind of a fun setup as to where they come from and whatnot, which of course is the part you play in it, that
Mhm.
you unwittingly bring a horror icon who has passed away back to life, and he, gives his posthumous television program on Natural Causes to you and your friend.
Yeah, I love that one so much. I read the script. I mean, a lot of times, I act as well as produce in this radio. So I have a lot of scripts that I've been going through just this year, and some of them are so taxing and they're not fun. And I just dread rehearsing them because maybe they're so dark or scary or disturbing. But this one was really, really, really fun to rehearse. I rehearsed with my mom, I rehearsed with my dad, I rehearsed with Julia, the real co-star who plays my BFF. And I love her voice, and she was really fun. And we would trade roles and play different parts. And we just had a lot of fun preparing. So this was a lot of fun to prepare. It was a lot of fun to shoot. I can't wait to watch it. I just wish everything that I worked on was as fun as this. And honestly, the vibe of this is pretty much why I got into filmmaking. Not necessarily horror, but it's fun and quirky and funny and a little tongue in cheek and a little ridiculous. So just thank you for that because I wish everything was this fun.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I always try to make movies that are fun. That's,
Mhm.
even though I do a lot of horror, they're usually fun. I don't usually
Mhm.
make things that are really ugly or disturbing. Usually there's kind of a humor to it, and there's sort of
Mhm.
a craziness and an absurdity. So
Yeah.
this definitely, I think, encapsulated all that.
I'm gonna go with my question list. So absurdity. I actually coined, I think, 2019. I was like, the theme of the year is absurdity. I love absurdity. And a lot of people don't understand absurdity. So they see absurdity and they think, oh, maybe this producer or the actors are stupid, or maybe my Facebook posts are stupid, but I just like the world of absurd. So, like, what kind of challenges have you ever faced being in that world and producing the absurd? Like, do people misunderstand you? Any challenges?
Well, they can. Um, there's an old quote from David Lee Roth that I always throw out, which I love, is where he said, anybody that knows me knows that what I do is not poetry, but if they get it, they can see the poetry in what I do. And I love that because that's the way I always feel that, yeah, what I do, it's not for everybody. Not everyone's going to get it. And a lot of times people don't want the absurd. People want things that are sort of very cookie cutter, very basic. Like,
Mhm.
they want the ending that they see coming. They want, okay, this is the good guy, this is the bad guy, and I kind of enjoy things that turn things on their head, that are, opposite, or like, oh, I didn't expect that, or why this, or that's just so utterly random. But that I find to be the most fun, where you can
Mhm.
get some originality and sort of, poke some holes in the convention of things. So that's what I've always tried to do, with a lot of what I did. Like, and it's always been, well, let's do this. Why? Why not? And
Mhm.
there are a lot of ridiculousness, in my films, a lot of, absurdity, that people will say, well, how come this? And it's like, because it looked cool, because it felt right, because whatever. And then sometimes people interpret things their own way. And they'll come to me like, so when this happened, was that because of this and that? And maybe, and I
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
that. Like, things aren't always explained away. They don't always tie into an inherent logic.
Mhm.
Not to always, but I mean, the horror genre is known for illogic. You know, there's always horror movies wouldn't happen if people behaved logically. It's always, yeah, sure, let's go into that dark house by ourselves. Why not? What's the worst that could happen? You know, so
Yeah, yeah. I like absurdity. I always say I stopped doing stand-up for a bit, but when I did, my MO is if I'm not losing at least 40% of the audience with every joke, I don't want to do the joke. And I even had a dream 2 nights ago that I was in New York City. And I really have grown to hate stand-up, but I was in New York City at this fancy restaurant and I'm telling jokes like Rodney Dangerfield. So I'm having fun. I think it's fun. But it was all these uptight finance people that I was associated with for several years. Those were all my friends. But anyway, everyone was looking at me like, ah. And even the girls I was with, these uptight girls with breast implants and all types, whatever, they left. I went back to the table, they're all gone. And I woke up and I'm like, that was amazing. I got to do stand-up again. I just lost the entire room, except like two people. But anyway, so if it's for everyone, I think it's really not for me. So your stuff isn't for everyone, but I love it. So,
nothing
all
is
right.
for everyone. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the thing. When I always say to people, every time a Star Wars movie comes out, I've got tons
Uh-huh.
of people that are falling all over themselves to tell me how, I've never watched a Star Wars movie, or I've never liked a Star Wars, and that's Star Wars. So if
Right.
there's people who don't like Star Wars, how am I expecting everyone's gonna like, Grave Danger? So,
Yeah. No, I prefer Witchmaster General. I loved it so much more than Star Wars. I hate Star
well,
Wars.
thank
I
you.
prefer to watch a million Witchmaster Generals, and I hate Titanic. Anyway, back to the next question. Let's move on. All right. So, your son, we shot one scene in my family's dental office, which was very fun. It was the end of the day, so that's always the best part when I have all my scenes done. I can take my makeup off and relax and have fun with you guys. And we shot in the funeral home first with your son Stove, his nickname. So, what are some of the benefits and or challenges that come with working with your son?
Oh, it was a dream come true, really. Because it was just, you know, it's a family affair,
Mhm.
and he doesn't, he's not looking to grow up and make movies himself. He doesn't have that
Mhm.
kind of interest in this, but he enjoyed it. And
Mhm.
I just loved having him there, because it's exciting. Because this is, I always think it's pretty cool stuff, and to be able to share that with, because now my son just turned 15 yesterday, and
Oh, wow.
to be able to, show him like this is, I make these movies and this is how we do it, and because it's a fun thing. It's a fun event. And not only, I mean, just having him there would be cool, period. But the fact that he was really good at it, that everything I showed him, he picked up very well. He was very good at everything. The days he wasn't there, his presence was missed. Like, people would all be like, oh, I wish Stove was here because, he's
Oh,
better at this than I am, or he knows how to do this. So he really was great. I mean, it was,
oh, great.
Well, I mean, we had a whole a great team on this. I mean, it was him and Kathy and Robert and Sharon. I mean, and everybody, because there were people, and the cast that, people I worked with before, like you and Ray, who we did
Hmm.
Frank together, all of us, and he's in one of the other
Hmm.
segments.
Yeah,
Tina
I love
Kraus,
him.
of course, and Debbie D and Baron Mizuraco from Carnivore ED, and people that I've worked with before, and a lot of people I haven't,
Hmm.
new faces, and I really found a lot of great talent this time around, a lot of great people that I would like to work with again. So it was a lot of fun. And it was just a great way to, because like I said, I haven't done it in so long. And
Yeah.
it's like if I'd like to at least do one more, but now that I've done it, now of course I want to do more. So
Yeah, 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 that makes sense. I think this one's, well, at least the segment we did, super cool. But I'm a fan of Frank too. I have to post some clips of Frank because honestly, I think a lot of people don't even know that we shot that. I barely posted anything.
well,
So
that
I
was a
need to do
short film, and that ended up on the Movies for Midnight Hour
that. Hmm.
compilation of all my short films, and that's finding an audience now because I think that Witchmaster General and Grave Danger are now streaming on Tubi. I mean, I'm very big on physical media. I believe everything should come out on
Hmm.
physical media because I want to own something, I want to hold it in my hand, I want to know it's mine.
Hmm.
Because streaming it comes and goes. But it is good though that these things are on streaming and people are now seeing them. Like it's coming out to a new audience, and a lot of people really liked Movies for the Midnight Hour and all the films in that, and that's very varied because that wasn't an anthology per se. Those are all separate movies that, because I got into making short films because they were easier and also and fun, and that you're not tied down to doing one thing for a long period of time. You shoot a short film in a day or two, and then you're on to the next thing, and I like that freedom. But I wanted to do something as a more complete statement, and I guess I got away from it a bit with doing the band, but as we're, in need of a lead guitarist, we, haven't had anything going on with the band. So the time seemed right to do this. And I'm very happy with it.
I'm psyched. I love the poster. Tina, I think she might be. I don't know. Kirsten Olsen is pretty nice too. But I have to say, until before I met Kirsten, Tina Kraus is probably the nicest, friendliest, best vibes female I've ever been on any set with. I haven't been on set with your sets, but she was just fantastic and just so great to be around. So,
Yeah,
shout out
she's
to Tina.
terrific. I mean, she's really so good and really such a pro, really comes in very prepared, knows everything. And she was, I know when we shot with her, she was like really had like six different things going on. So she was just run ragged.
Mm,
And it was like she'd been up
mm.
working the whole night before and had to get up there early the next day. And it was one of those kind of situations. And yet she just, when you see it, she just hits it out of the park. She's fantastic. Can't say
And
enough
she's
good about
nice.
her.
She's
Yeah,
present behind the scenes, but
and
that's
she's
all
a
I
cool
really see.
person. Yeah. I
Yeah.
always because the first time I worked with her was in the movie When Death Calls, and I was a fan before,
Mhm.
and I managed to, I guess, meet her and, get in contact with her. And it was kind of like, wow, we could get Tina Kraus in our movie. It was exciting. And I remember being terrified because I was like, because, things are usually pretty ramshackle, but, we were like, all right, everybody step up your game. Tina Kraus is going to be here. It's like, it's
Yeah,
like the Pope is coming for dinner, bring out the good
yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
And
yeah.
she was just so much fun. Like she just really enjoyed it and had a laugh, and we all just goofed around, and it was great. Like she just really, has such a great attitude, and she's a lot of fun. And I can't say enough
Yeah.
good about her. Or Debbie D, who's terrific. I don't know if you ever worked with
No,
her.
no, not
We
yet.
shot at her place. She actually let us come out to her place in Philadelphia, and we shot there.
Oh,
And she was really terrific too. We all the stories, the segments are really good, and the tie-in thing, it just works. I'm very, very proud of it. I can't wait for people to see this movie. So
yeah, I'm psyched. I'm psyched. All right, so moving on. So filmmaking to me, it's essentially just a big game of problem solving. You can't solve problems, you're probably gonna suck at filmmaking. That's just that's just what I found. If you
that's
can't
true.
manage your life, you can't manage film, but I find that if you can really manage a film set, which is a microcosm for life, you can kind of manage your life to a point. All right. So can you tell us about some or just one of the challenges that you were faced with during the creation process of anything, and then how you solved it?
Well, that's constantly that's how much time you got, because that's really any movie, anybody that's ever made
Yeah.
a movie, which is why I never like to badmouth movies, because even if I don't like them, I try to be positive, because I always say, if you got a movie finished from start to end and it's out, you have my respect right there. Even if I don't enjoy it, even if it's got, its flaws, just getting it done. It's such it really is quite an undertaking. So, I really am I salute anybody that can do it, because there's always things. There's always, I've had movies where the morning of, you have people coming in, maybe flying in to do a scene, and then somebody gets sick or somebody disappears, and what do?
There's
You gotta,
raining.
yeah, adopt, adapt, and improve. You've just got to shuffle things around and figure it out, and that's what separates the men from the boys. I've known people that have, tons of, knowledge, spent much more time than I did studying film and studying and taking classes and whatever, and bought all kinds of equipment. And then they set out to make a movie, and first day out, somebody didn't show up, something, and that's it. And they just got discouraged and stopped. And it's
Yeah.
like, if that's I don't recommend this, because this
Right.
is not easy. It may
No.
look easy, it may look fun, and it is fun, but it really is always a constant state of trying to stay on top of things and try and keep everything together and keep everyone, and which is part of why I like doing short films, because it's sometimes easy that you get everyone together for a day or two and that's it, rather than you need people to come back, because the
Yeah.
scheduling is a nightmare of, oh, well, I can come next Saturday, but I can't come the Saturday after. Oh, I could do the Saturday after. I can't do this Saturday. Oh, well, can we do Friday? Can we? Everybody's got, especially, the older you get, I mean, I'm not as young as I look. And when I was younger, it was easier because people had less commitments, less responsibility. Now people, they have careers, they have jobs, they have families, they have children. Everyone's got their own thing going on, and your movie is
Yeah.
not going to be anyone else's top priority. So, it is definitely a constant game of whack-a-mole. Um,
Definitely.
and you're right, yeah, that it's about solving problems. There were people I wanted in this movie that wanted to be in this movie and couldn't, make it work. People I'd worked with
Mhm.
before, or people, and it just, whether it was scheduling or things came up or whatever, and they were like, I like the script, I just can't do it right now. And, all right, then we got to find someone else and whatever. So, you lose a
Good
location,
matching.
you find another one. Yeah.
Yeah, and matching. I shot two films and I just did ADR for a commercial and two films just this week. They're all wrapped, but I had to look exactly the same for an entire year. So for women, there's hair, just matching the hair and your weight and your skin. And, people, when you hit 50 or 40, things start changing. Some of my co-stars look totally different than they did last year, fatter, skinnier, whatever. Anyway, so if everything could just be one shoot day, I would love it. Because just matching alone is like, ah, all right. Anyway, we're gonna wrap up. We have 2 minutes left. So I'm gonna wrap up on the last question. All right. Unnatural causes, you got some really fun actors with personality, not just actors that are good actors, but they have personality. Dino Castelli has personality. I have some personality, for better or for worse. Tina Kraus, Ray Talercia, I can't even get it. Talercia. Yeah. Anyway, so quick answer, because we're at the end. What makes you really want to work with an actor?
Well, I mean, dependability is important. I mean, it is. When you could depend on people, when they show up, they know their lines, they know what they're doing, whatever, and they say what they say they're going to be there, they're there. That is important. I mean, it is ideal. But also, I mean, I do like, people that are the complete package, the way they look, the way they sound. And sometimes I don't know, sometimes I'm casting people and I'm not so much, I'm just figuring like, this person's right for the role. This person, sometimes you just audition people and it's just, I've had that experience of, oh my God, that's literally who I wrote. They just walked off the script into real life. That's perfect. And sometimes they're not. and sometimes you got to work with them, and sometimes you think, but if you see that germ of, all right, I could see where he could do this. He's not entirely the way I pictured it, but I mean, Witchmaster General, quickly, we had Phil Lewis from LA Guns. And before I thought of Phil Lewis, initially when I wrote it, I wanted to have Angus Scrimm from Phantasm, the tall man. And when we realized we weren't able to get in contact with him, this was a little bit before, Facebook and everything, and people were more accessible. Somebody had recommended the guy who played Dr. Phil from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Uncle Phil. So the tall man from Phantasm, Uncle Phil from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and Phil Lewis from LA Guns. Three vastly different people, vastly different types, and yet I thought any of the three would have worked, for the role. And I mean, I'm happy that, we got Phil Lewis because I think that the movie came out great, but that's just the thing. It's like, yeah, what do you look for? You know it when you see it.
Yeah, yeah. And I will say, shout out to the casting of Julia Fisher, my co-star in Natural Causes. She plays my BFF. And I loved rehearsing with her. I loved listening to her voice for hours while I was playing the rehearsal. She has a fun voice, and I just like the chemistry. And I'm very glad you picked her because it was fun. You have to spend time with these people, and it was just fun. It was a fun little crazy
Yeah.
chemistry we had. So
She's a
thank you.
sweetheart. Everybody, I liked everybody in the movie. I got to say, usually there's always one or two people that kind of get under your skin, but I got to say, with this, I think everyone I really truly enjoyed working with and would like to work with everyone again.
Everyone. That's like a never rarity.
Yeah,
Everyone, wow. Yeah, that's great.
it was a good team this time. So I'm very best cast I've ever worked with,
Aw, oh, that's
and I've
great.
worked
Well,
with some
we have
great
to cast
cast.
one. So, shout out to the casting director. And Tito Castelli, I guess he worked out. Shout out. He always works out. He recommends me all the time, and it's kind of like Netflix. Like, if you like Jen, you might like Dino. If you like Dino Castelli, and that just seems to be the casting process for that. So maybe that'll happen with Julia Fisher as well. We'll see.
Yes,
Anyway, we are way over time already. I have more questions, but we'll have to do another one, or maybe we'll do an uncensored one where I can ask some questions that I
cool.
really want to ask.
We can work
On that
blue.
note, Jim Haggerty's Unnatural Causes. Where can we find you? Social media, website?
Facebook, Jim Haggerty filmmaker. There's a Yellow Ape filmmaker, a Yellow Ape Productions Facebook page. There's a
Mhm.
Drunken Frankenstein Facebook page. No website at the moment. Working on putting together a an online storefront so people can buy our movies direct because some of them are harder to find than I didn't realize. People have written to me and said, "Where can I find Vaulted? Where can I find that?" I'm like,
Yeah,
"Isn't it on Amazon?" And I don't buy them, I have them. So I look it up, like, oh, I'll be damned, it's not. So yeah, so it's a work in progress, but Jim Haggerty Filmmaker is probably the best way to reach out and and let me know what's what. And please do, because sometimes like I periodically, very not often, but occasionally I'll get something really nice, message like, "Hey man, I love your movies. I think this is great. I think, this movie was really terrific." And it's nice to hear that because,
yeah,
when you're, huge and famous and, you hear it, from everyone, person, every person you encounter, it gets old, I guess. But, it doesn't get old for me, because, when you hear it every now and then, and I encourage people, if you like other people's work, you should, always reach out and be complimentary because we all tend to be negative. I always say Yelp reviews are always, you always have to discount at least 30% of them because if people don't like something, they want to tell everyone. If they like something, they go, "Yeah, that was good," and they move on to new business. It should be the other
yeah,
way around. Anyway,
yeah. Well, my
you
closing
go.
thought, I love a bad review. That's one reason why I do certain movies. Not this one, but I live for bad reviews, and especially my mom. My mom is the funniest bad reviews. I love when she's like, "Oh, she even forbid me from buying a trailer from a film I'm in. Don't buy that. It's terrible. It's terrible." I'm gonna post a video. I was filming her secretly while she went on and on why I can't be in it. But I also will say I made a note like 10 years ago, don't let your compliments go to your head and don't let your critiques like bring you down or something. But
Right.
I took that too seriously, and now I'll get messages and compliments, and I don't even let them land. And like that's not healthy either. Like you have to
Yeah.
sometimes don't just discard, oh, I love this. You
Oh
have
no,
to
no. You should take it
celebrate.
and you should appreciate it and you should value it. But I mean, don't let it go to your head and be like,
No,
oh, well, you see that I'm the greatest, and
no, I'm
that's
opposite. I forgot. I just dismiss everything. And now it's like I'm never celebrating. This is a problem. So
mm.
anyway, back to Mark Torres and back for more. It came from the radio. Thank you for listening, and I'll be back when I feel like it. See you later.